911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. The state were just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. You got to take it to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
I'm not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
Got the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
On August 9th, 2013, at 12:48 a.m., San Angelo, Texas resident Brandon Mason Lawson would phone 911 from an unnamed field off of Highway 277. In the middle of his frantic call with the 911 dispatcher, who was at the time located at a nursing home in Robert Lee, Texas, Brandon would stop responding altogether before their 45-second long conversation would come to an end. This is the last time that anyone has heard from Brandon. His disappearance would come only a year after moving from Fort Worth, Texas, with his wife, Ledessa Lofton, and their children in the August of 2012. While adjusting to his new life in San Angelo, Lawson managed to make ends meet with his job as a field worker for Renegade Oil Services. With both a looming history of substance abuse and legal history of possession with intent to distribute charges, Brandon was working taxing hours on a consistent basis to provide what he could for the family. Sometimes spending nearly 13 hours on his shifts, he'd usually work 95 hours a week to ensure that his 4 children would have all they needed. However, with a recently passed drug test Brandon was excited about, things were apparently slated to change as Brandon had a new job lined up with more stable work hours. But in August of 2013, things started to change for the worst, and they had Brandon's wife worried. After coming home from yet another long shift in the fields on the evening of August 8th, 2013, Brandon would find himself in an argument with his wife, Ledessa, something that wasn't all too uncommon for them, as they had always seemingly lived very stressful lives together. Money troubles, a newborn, and health problems that the family was facing on a consistent basis had the two arguing often. However, this wasn't a typical spat. Lofton's main concern was that Brandon hadn't come home the night prior, August 7th, after his shift at work. She was worried that due to a recent relapse after last night's disappearance, that Brandon was partaking in drugs, or possibly even selling again. And although Ledessa had her reasons to be worried about the well-being of her husband, Brandon had already heard enough. In what would start a series of confusing and unexplained events, Brandon would grab his belongings and leave his home in San Angelo at roughly 11:53 p.m. On an almost empty tank of gas, he would call his father, who resided 3 hours away in Crowley, Texas, asking if he could spend the night after his argument with Ledessa. While his father agreed to letting him stay the night, he suggested his son patch things up with his wife and return home instead of making the long drive out at this time of night. A few minutes after he left, Ledessa phoned Brandon in an attempt to do the very same, or to get him to go to his brother Kyle's house, who only lived 5 minutes away. After refusing her offer, Brandon would phone his brother at 12:38 a.m. to let him know that he'd just gotten stranded on the side of Highway 277 with no gas. It would take Kyle Lawson and his wife 32 minutes to arrive at Brandon's abandoned truck, where Deputy Neal from the Coke County Sheriff's Office was responding to a call of a vehicle parked haphazardly on the highway. With Brandon's belongings still in the vehicle, the deputy ordered for it to be towed by 8 a.m. and took off without running the plates. By 8:30 a.m., the search for Brandon was called off. The whereabouts of Brandon Lawson are still a mystery to this day, as no clothing or remains have ever been found in the area that Brandon's 911 call was made in. It's speculated by many that Lawson had found himself back in his previous situation, selling drugs and using himself. Others believe that he stumbled upon something that he shouldn't have seen after getting stranded on the side of the highway. And while the case of Brandon Mason Lawson is still unsolved to this day, his memory is carried on by his loving family and children.